Hello friends, welcome to the Butterfly Path. My name is Lucia Radetzki and today we're going to be talking about the PTSD from a spiritual perspective. We're going to be opening our Bibles and we're going to be talking about some passages in the sacred scriptures, and we're also going to take a look at the Gospel of Mary of Magdala, okay? We're going to be talking about the causes of post-traumatic stress disorder, and we're also going to be talking about what can we do. A lot of people like to think or say that the post-traumatic stress disorder is something very hard to heal. Just as also people like to say that recovering from abuse, it is something that will take you your whole life. Well, in this video, I want to bring up a statement, a testimony of my own healing from PTSD, but also what I have seen in other people, the situations that trigger those episodes of anxiety or this stress disorder can be addressed and absolutely healed by the word of God, by the word of Jesus, and by our perspective. Healing medicine starts here in the mind, starts here in the spirit, in the heart. So do not let anyone to tell you that something is gonna take you forever to be healed, because with God all things are possible, and with God all things can be healed now. So let's start now. I'm gonna start reading this passage. This is John 16:25. With the passage, Jesus Christ has overcome the world. These things I have spoken to you in figurative language, but the time is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figurative language, but I will tell you plainly about the Father. In that day, you will ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I shall pray the Father for you. For the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came forth from God. I came forth from the Father and have come into the world. Again, I leave the world and go to the Father. His disciples say to him, "See, now you are speaking plainly and using no figurative speech. Now we are sure that you know all things and have no need that anyone should question you. But this we believe, that you came forth from God." Jesus answered to them, "Do you now believe? Indeed, the hour is coming, yes, has now come, that you will be scattered, each to his own, and will leave me alone. And yet, I'm not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Beautiful words. So these words are telling us that in the world there's going to be a lot of things that are going to trigger our anxiety or fear or stress and cause stress disorder, right? COVID, it's an example of this massive situation of post-traumatic stress disorder that has come out of a traumatic experience that we collectively went into as humanity, right? Because it was a world pandemic. So wars are also these examples of collective trauma that we are working in, and they came from the world. But Jesus has laid already the land for us to walk in his path, to walk in his ways, and to be able to overcome the world as he did it. And he has more than once said to us that he is the way, he is the door, because he's teaching us how to overcome these traumatic experiences. So I also want to read from the Gospel of Mary in the chapter 4:1. She is saying, "When the Blessed One has had said this. He greeted them all. "Peace be with you," he said. "Acquire my peace within yourselves." John the Baptist also was talking about the peace, something that is going to help us when we are going through post-traumatic stress disorder, regardless if that is complex PTSD or just PTSD coming from an experience of now, right? Complex PTSD is when you have been towards a lot of different traumatic experiences in your life, starting from childhood, a lot of times. A lot of people right now are going through that because we have been hit by one and another traumatic experience. And we have been living pretty much in a huge situation of stress after the other. So John the Baptist said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." This is chapter 14:27. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." Right? So there's nothing to be afraid of. That is what the disciples were trying to share with us. When you are following the Lord, when you are connecting with Jesus, when you are connecting with Jesus' word, with the early Christians' ways and paths, you understand that nothing, pretty much nothing, can move you, nothing can scare you, nothing can touch you. And this applies also to PTSD triggers, right? Because the triggers come from a place of disempowerment, from a place of identification with the flesh, with what's going on with the body. Now, along with these conversations about the spirit and how following God, following Jesus can heal us instantly from PTSD or a shortened or process of recovery from complex PTSD and PTSD, I'm also going to give you some practical things you can do in the physical, some tips that you can do to heal yourself and to shorten that period of recovery from PTSD. And why? Because it is meant for us that we live in peace, that our hearts are not troubled. Because we, as childs of God, as holders of the light, we are in needing to let behind all of those triggers, all of those anxieties, all of those worries, and trust in the Lord's words that we are meant to live in peace, regardless of what's going on out there. And why is this so important? Well, if you understand that your mind and the spirit are the templates for your physical reality, you will understand the importance of keeping your mind at peace, keeping your heart at peace at all times, regardless of what's going on outside. Because that's the only way we can collectively manifest peace. If we are constantly focusing on fear, focusing on trauma, focusing on pain, well, guess what? We're going to be reproducing, because our doubts and our emotions are molding, shaping our reality. Now, we are co-creators. We are shaping this reality together. So when everybody is holding a vibration, a state of mind, a way of thinking, you can call it a paradigm if you want, whatever it is, when we are holding it together, then that is going to have a powerful impact on the physical reality. It's going to manifest faster and stronger. So that's why Jesus had told us before that when many people gather together to pray for something, that has a bigger impact. I'm sorry for that. So it is very important that we understand the power that it has, collective healing, and addressing collectively our trauma and our PTSD as humanity, right? And this starts from long ago, even from when our father was crucified, right? What a trauma for the sons of God, for the child of God to experience and live that, and to be continually reminded of the persecution and of the torture that our father endured for us. So it's important that we let go of this now. It's important that we heal that ancestral trauma related with persecution and related with pain and related with fear, because our Father has given us the ability to tap into peace and to let go and to forgive. And He did it. So why we will not be able to do so? We absolutely can. Now, we get overly identify with our body experience, with our body identity, with our flesh, and with what has happened to us. We take it so personal. We get so attached. If we have had abuse or a sickness or a trauma, an accident, whatever it is that had happened, maybe you lost someone that you loved. And so you have end up creating that template for your identity, and you become so attached to that trauma that you have allowed, maybe subconsciously, to define you, to pretty much shape your experience, your physical experience. But that is not who you are. I'm sorry, I have to turn off this. That is not who you are. At all times, what you are, it is what the Father has made you to be. So trauma is definitely not part of it. It is peace instead. It is joy instead. Because when you're living in the Word of God, when you are living and following His commandments, there is no place for fear and there is no place for stress. We're just at peace, right? Even in the worst situations. And I am a testimony. I have been able to remain at peace in situations that were incredibly challenging. We're talking about, I have survived situations that will put my life in threat many times, not just earthquakes and tornadoes, but also homelessness and a lot of things that you will not believe my little body has went through. But it did, and it survived, and it maintained peace and joy at all times. And how we do that is by tapping precisely into that abundant wellspring, which is the Word of God, which is the promise of God for peace. And we can only do so if we are at peace with ourselves, right? If we are able to forgive. And that is the hardest part with PTSD, you know. We get so attached to what happened. We get so angry at what whoever did it, right? If the trauma is attached to some sort of abuse, and this can be institutional abuse, can be, physical, emotional, mental abuse, domestic abuse, can be any kind of it. It doesn't have to be just one person. You know, this is precisely what we were talking about, the complex PTSD. So what happens is that we became so angry. From one of the things that happened is that we became identified with trauma that define us, that give us some sort of like standard of who you are, what you have endured. It's almost like a medal, right? Oh, I went through all this. And we even use it to connect with other people, which is called trauma bonding. It's not a good thing, but we use it, right, to connect with other people. Maybe sometimes in a subconscious way, sometimes on purpose. That's what narcissist people do. But that is not who you are, and that should not be a way to bond or connect with people. Your trauma, it's in the past, and it's meant for you to grow out of it and to forgive. And there we go. That's the biggest part that we need to be able to heal from PTSD, which is forgiveness. When you stay stuck on anger or grief, it is really hard to let go of the trauma. It is really hard to not find yourself being triggered by situations, right? Because you haven't been able to forgive. You haven't been able to let go of the pain and the person and the situation that have caused it. So I'm gonna be very honest with you. One of the things, let's use something collective, right? With COVID, right? Let's use something collective. The misinformation, the misleading. I'm not gonna go too deep into that because I know there's a lot of like censor about it, and I want you guys to get this video, but you know what I'm talking about. There has been a lot of misinformation and misleading information regarding what the COVID pandemic was also uh, meant to do in our lives, right? And the vaccines and all that. There was so much that we didn't know about it. There was so much that it was pretty much imposed on us. And a lot of people had hold a lot of resentment because of that, a lot of pain because we had lost people, and we had a lot of isolation and a lot of stress and economic worries and a lot of situations, right, that have brought fear on people. Thanks God, a lot of us that we have been following Jesus' words and we have been in the spirit, we never felt afraid or got even very sick or anything like that because of our Father's promises. But collectively, we could feel the fear. We could feel for elders. We could feel for our immune compromised people in humanity, right? So we have growth angry, worried, and stressed with the institutions that should provide us with the truth, that should provide us with the solutions, and solutions that do not have side effects, right? Solutions that are actually gonna help us long term, like for example, how to boost our immune system, right? Instead of depending on chemicals. So letting that aside, let's go back to the anger and let's go back to the need for forgiveness, because a lot of you that are awakened and that have seen everything happening, you may have got overly identified with your anger and overly identified with the need to fight for justice. And I'm not saying here that you shouldn't, but I'm saying here that the Lord is gonna avenge us. Don't worry. Everybody's gonna get their own chocolate, their own medicine. Everybody's gonna get it. Now, when you get stuck in anger, and again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't fight for your rights. Of course you will. I'm just saying that not from a place of anger, not from a place of resentment. Because when you got attached to that resentment, to that trauma, you let it define you, anger against what happened. And this can be, anger against men too, if you have been towards domestic abuse, right? Or against women, if you had a narcissistic mother, for example. So that attachment to the trauma, it's defining you, who you are, and it's limiting you into shaping the reality that you want to manifest. A reality of peace, a reality of love, a reality of joy, which is what our Father wants for us. But by you remaining in that place of unforgiveness and anger, because you feel that is a defense, a way to defend yourself so that never happens again. And I get it. We all feel that way. We don't want that to happen again. But maybe that's not the way, because then who gets the PTSD triggers? Who gets harmed? Who brings more of that into your life? You, not your abusers, not the people who caused the trauma in the first place, if it was caused by a person. It doesn't touch them. Your unforgiveness is also preventing justice to happen, because when you are not forgiven, then you want to avenge yourself, and that's what God had told us to not do, because our ways to create justice are different than the Lord's ways, and the Lord is way more smart and way more omnipresent and omnipotent to help us get that justice, to help us get avenged. And a lot of things are very hard to forgive, and I get it. I get it. There are things that are really, really hard to forgive, especially when someone that we used to love harms someone else, right? Like little children, for example, or cheating situations, or narcissistic relationships are particularly challenging to forgive and to let go of. But it is transcendental that you do so because of you, because it's part of your own recovery, it's part of your own healing. And if you stay holding that grudge, stay angry at them because you feel that's the only way that you're making justice to what happened, you're actually being unfair to yourself. You're actually creating and bringing more of the same situation, triggers of PTSD. And those are going to happen, so you are reminded of what your mind got stuck into. You got identified with that trauma, and now you keep reproducing again and again and again a situation, and that is called a trigger. Now, for the ones of you that don't know what it is, PTSD, or how it manifests, it usually manifests as a conjunct of different symptoms. Sometimes it's insomnia, sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes it is panic attacks, in the worst cases scenarios. And a lot of times it's connected with a trigger, right? Like something happens that is sending the signal to your brain that is gonna be just like what happened in the past. If you see this from the spirit perspective, the body and your soul cannot really, distinguish between the past and the present. So when you are attached to that trauma and bring it again and again and again, it is a way of like living stuck, living in bondage with that trauma, with that situation, with that people, and you're not freeing yourself. That's why it's so important to forgive, to let it go, as hard as it can be. I'm not saying here is easy, and it might take you, it might take you some time until you can forgive, or it might be instant when you get it. Okay, I get it. I think it's important that you do a little ritual of forgiveness. You ask the Lord to guide you, to guide your steps. You ask the Holy Spirit to come assist you if you are a believer like I am. And so it's going to be very, very important to count with that help from God, because God's words have been stated, so we live in peace, in joy, in happiness. So that promise is something we can hold God accountable, right? We can say, hey, God, you promised me that if I follow you, I'm going to get peace. And God likes that. God likes that you hold him accountable for his words. That's why he has led us the word as maps, as practical maps. And in PTSD, he's being very, very, very clear about peace, right? In Luke 24:36, we also see that he's saying, and as they were saying this, Jesus stood among them and said to them, peace to you. It was very important for Jesus that we understand that we're meant to live in peace, so we can co-create more of that. This is why I'm understanding from those words, right? This is my interpretation from Jesus' words, that we are meant to manifest peace in the world. We are meant to manifest peace in our hearts, in our minds, and that comes out of forgiveness. So one of the things, the practical things we can do, is to express forgiveness as far as that can be, express it, but it's not going to work out if you don't feel it, right? So how are you going to feel it? I know for a fact, for my own experience, that sometimes, you just say it out loud, you don't actually feel it. You don't. And some things are really, really hard to forgive, right? Especially physical abuse, emotional abuse, or abuse to people that you love, right? Your elders, your children, those situations when it's like really heartbroken and you feel like you're never going to be able to forgive. But think about this. Jesus was forgiving people that harm, that murdered him and tortured him in the same moment he was being tortured. So if he could do it, I know we can, and it might take us some time, but we can, because he teaches us to follow him, to do what he was doing. That's what he was saying, friends. You gotta read your Bible and you're gonna see that he wasn't saying, I'm the only one that can do that. No, he was saying, forgive. So if he could, we can. And it's important that we do it again and again and again and again, 70 times, right? As it says in the word. Because maybe the first time that you say, okay, I forgive you for this, you don't believe it. You don't make it actually part of your subconscious mind, because you're still, there's, let's say, the understanding in terms of neuronal paths, right? Your neurons are used to it, to that neural path of like, oh, the trigger, I hate this person, or I hate this situation, I feel stress, or I feel angry, or fear, right? And so that's the PTSD path that is going. And then the only way to break it is to create a different neuronal path, a different path. Oh, the trigger. Oh, I have forgiven this. So I'm seeing this because it's reminding me that I have forgiven, and now I'm at peace in this situation. So it's always about redirecting a thought. It's always about changing the way how you feel about something. And instead of feeling attached to the trauma, or attached to a certain identity, a certain crisis that you have been through, and anger, to like sort yourself out, just know that by forgiving, it is the best way you can sort yourself out from that person. You're not saying with your forgiveness, you're not saying that was okay. Because a lot of times I think we tend to believe that if we forgive something that was nasty, that was horrible, that happened to us or to other people, that somehow we are allowing that somehow we're saying we're in agreement. But that's not the case. When you forgive, what you're doing is setting yourself free from that and saying, like, this has nothing to do with me. That's not how I will do things. That's not what I approve. That's not what my father approves. This is, I can't even understand this. I don't get it. So by forgiving, you set yourself free. You cut yourself off from that. You're saying, this is not mine. This is like this person behavior. And when you're not forgiving, in the opposite side, you are actually, there's actually a part of you that is still attached to that. So you're still identifying yourself with it. And in a way, you're keeping yourself in bondage. You're keeping yourself in pain, in suffering, in anger, in stress, in PTSD. And so you are just affecting yourself, and you might get sick, it gets worse. Now I get it that some things are really hard to forgive from the heart, like really, really forgive. So what we're going to do is to make it pretty much a routine for us to every day forgive until it's done, until you don't need to do it anymore, because you don't feel angry, or you don't feel scared, or you don't feel anything, until you have completely washed out all bad feelings, anxieties, or stress that person has caused to you. It is a process, can be quick, can be slow, depending on you and your ability to forgive. But it is very much beneficial for you. And believe me, the faster you forgive, the faster you let go of the offenses of others, and the Lord God, it's gonna avenge you. Don't worry, like, it's gonna come. I have received emails from people that harm me, like many years after the harm has happened, and saying, please forgive me, right? When I already forgive that person long ago. But their own spirit, once you forgive, it's like they're meant to just deal with the Father, right? It's just them and God. You have nothing to do with it. And so they're gonna come to realization of what they did, because you're not angry anymore. So you're not attached, you're not feeding into that. And a lot of times, especially with narcissistic situations, right? Narcissistic abuse, those people want you to fight. Those people want you to be angry. Those people want you to be unforgiving, because it's a way of remaining in your energy. It's a way of keep feeding out of your negativity or your energy, right? It's a way of energetic vampirism. So by you being unforgiven, and by you remaining in a place of anger, in a place of being triggered by them, you're just feeding them. You're just feeding those demons, right? Those demons. So the best way to deal with this is to just let it go. It doesn't touch you. It doesn't affect you. They have to deal with the Father. It's going to be between them and God when it's their judgment day. Period. It's written. So do it as a way of healing yourself, not from a place of duty, oh, I have to do this, but more from a place of love, of self-love. Okay, I'm going to let go of this situation. I'm going to let go of this trauma. And this can be someone that you have lost, for example. Maybe it was a traumatic death in your life that happened, and so then you got triggered by abandonment. This is very important. If you have abandonment issues and PTSD related with abandonment of someone, like someone leaves and then you start feeling like anxiety, it is very important that you forgive them for whatever it is that say, for example, a father has abandoned you, or a mother, or mother figures, or a husband or a wife, and then there's a part that subconsciously is attached to that reality, and it's going to feel like every time someone is out of your sight, they're abandoning you. That's an example, right? So that's a trigger and comes from PTSD, and it's important that you see it, honor it, recognize it, and let it go by forgiving the person that has abandoned you in the first place. Why? Because they didn't know what they were doing. Because a lot of times people harm us, and especially narcissists, but not just narcissists, but still wounded empaths, they can harm us without even knowing what they're doing. That's more likely the case a lot of times. People are just so stuck in their own bubble, in their own pain. So a lot of times they just don't have any awareness of what they're doing with other people's pain. So that's why it's so important to remember those words of Jesus Christ in the cross, like, forgive them, Father, because they don't know what they're doing. Because it is true, my friends, it is the truth. A lot of people just don't know what they're doing when they're harming you. They're acting from a place that is not even their soul, it's not even them. If you understand warfare, if you understand, all this spiritual language in terms of like demonic things, and a lot of you are gonna hear if you have ears, right? But you will know that the person that harmed you, it isn't even in their senses. You know what I mean? This can be, if you want to see it from a psychological perspective, it's a disorder, right? In case we're talking about narcissism, it is a mental health issue. And so with this, we're not saying that with forgiveness you're gonna be saying it's okay, or allowing, or just making peace from a place of disrespecting yourself, but quite the opposite. By forgiving and by letting go of that person, situation, trauma, you are making peace with yourself. You're saying, okay, this does not affect me anymore. This does not belong to me anymore. And whatever this person did, it is this person's thing, this person's karma, this person's, they have to deal with it. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. And the fact that they did it to me, it doesn't change who I am. If something, it makes me stronger, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So if something, it brought me closer to my Father. It brought me closer to a spiritual truth. And it helped me be who I am in a positive way, because I have overcome the world, right? Like Jesus said before. He had overcome the world. And when he said that, we're talking about also overcoming trauma and overcoming stress and overcoming fear and worries and all this. So, so practical things you can do when you are still on this, swimming out of grief or swimming out of fear or stress. In the process of forgiving something, so you can move on, so you can let that in the past and heal from betrayal, heal from abandonment, heal from injustice and all of that, what you can do is whenever you feel a trigger, if you are getting anxiety, and this is a very practical tip for symptoms, it is not for healing necessarily, but it is for symptoms. What you can do is first pay attention to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out slowly is going to help you a lot to deal with the anxiety and panic attack, especially. Second, remember whatever is happening, it is a trigger. It might not, it is an, in a way, illusion, or if it's not an illusion, it is not as big as it looks like. It's just reminding you of something that happened. So another thing you can do is focus on the colors. Like, for example, I got this beautiful red plant, and so by looking at bright colors and focusing on things you can see in the present, help you a lot to get out of the feeling that you are experiencing again, the trauma, right? So by focusing on colors or sounds, what you're doing is sending the signal to your brain that, yeah, you're okay. If you're able to focus on a color right now, or if you're able to focus on a sound that is peaceful, or a sound that helps you stay grounded in the present moment, then you won't feel like you're living back again in that traumatic situation. You are not in danger anymore. By focusing on the present colors, present sounds, present smells, your senses are going to help you realize that in the present moment, you are okay. You're okay. And so that's going to help you create a new state of mind when you feel you're safe and it's okay. And nobody's going to leave, and nobody's going to betray you right now, right here. And so you will stop attracting situations of abandonment or betrayal or, injustice and all that. Those situations are coming back to your life because you haven't healed them. You haven't been able to forgive and let go of them. And so they are still part of your identity. And you still feel the need to fight for your right or fight against it. And again, it's not that you shouldn't create awareness regarding a certain right or regarding righteousness, and you shouldn't be, I'm not saying that you should be an activist if you are one. I'm saying that the way of you are going to approach those things is not from a place of anger, and it's not from a place of trauma. It's from a place of love, and from a place of being healed, and from a place of testimony of I have overcome the world. And therefore, this does not affect me. This does not touch me anymore. So sometimes we are going to need to establish routines, right? Because precisely we're talking about stress. So stress is a very physical thing. It's not just a trouble of the spirit, but it is something that gets ingrained in our physical bodies. It is almost like a wound that you can't see, but it's there. So it is important when we have all sicknesses are spiritual, and that's why I'm a health coach, and I work with sickness in the physical, spiritual, and mental bodies. And I have to say that the template for sickness is always in the spirit realm. It's always spiritual. It comes and starts in the soul and in the mind, right? But at the same time, when a spiritual issue or a spiritual template is damaged, then had become already in the physical as physical manifestation, like for example, a panic attack or anxiety, or even a sickness that comes from stress, in which, for example, Crohn's disease is one of them, the irritable intestine, which is something I have healed myself from too. Then we are going to be using not just spiritual methods and the word of God to heal, but also physical, right? So we are going to need some diets, and we are going to need some plants. And if you are interested in going through this, I am offering you my services as health coach to find which one is the best diet and the best plants for you. But I'm going to just throw out there that there are some plants that you can use regardless of what particular symptoms you have that are useful in PTSD. And those are chamomile for the daytime, because it's a sedative plant that is going to help you with intestines also, but it's also going to be calming for the whole nervous system without getting you too sleepy. Because a lot of plants like valerian or there's a lot of other plants that are Tyler, for example, are gonna be too strong for you in the daytime, so you can't really drink them, because then you won't be able to drive or you won't be able to focus, right? You sleepy. But chamomile is perfect. You can use it in microdose, or you can use it in tea to help you calm your nerves in the daytime and help you with intestine issues, especially for the ones of you that have Crohn's disease. But also you can use lavender in the night. 3 flowers of lavender or lavender tea before you go to sleep is very, very good to heal from insomnia. But also you're gonna have to tap into those things that we said about the breath, paying attention to your breath and paying attention to colors, maybe your sheets, how your sheets feel, and establishing a routine, at what time you're going to bed, at what time you're waking up, at what time you're eating. It's important when you're struggling with physical symptoms from PTSD. Let me think. Oh, yeah. So lavender smell also is very good if you're interested in tapping into aromatherapy. I also use that a lot when I'm doing health coaching with my clients, and I definitely found very, very important tapping into smell when you are struggling with some sickness that is related with nervous system. So, well, there are many ways how you can use it for healing the smell. You can use it in baths. You can use it with, well, anyway, it will be too long to be sharing about all the ways, but I'm sure you can find more information about it. So to wrap up this video today about PTSD and how to deal with it from the spirit perspective, from the Word of God, and from a spiritual path that we are in, I would like for you to think about ways how you can come out with physical manifestations of that forgiveness. That can be, for example, and I know you're going to laugh, but that can be, for example, coming out with a little present that you do for maybe it is a parent that was abusive to you, or any other family member or a friend or someone, and you do a little gift for them. It can be a box with chocolate, it can be anything, and just put the intention that by you forgiving with that little present, and can be anything, can be just a pencil, whatever, but put the intention that you're truly with your heart letting go of that person and whatever that person has done to you. And if the person is dead, has passed away, you also can go to the cemetery, or you can go just in your prayer and say to that person, I forgive you. I forgive you. And remember that you're doing this for yourself. Remember that this does not mean that you are okay with what happened, but that this means that you are stepping back. You're stepping away from the situation, and you're saying, okay, this is not mine. This does not reflect who I am, who I think, how I think, what I do. This has nothing to do with me. So I'm going to disengage with this. I forgive you for your ignorance. I forgive you for your darkness, right? Because people that are doing this are in the dark, are in pain, are wounded, are being manipulated by demonic thoughts, if you want to say it like that, or mental health issues, if you want to say it like that. So you just disengage with it, and you do it. You manifest it in the physical. This gift can be money. Sometimes you need to give people money, like to give back money, or to just send them a little present, or say something, or a poem, or whatever. And so by expressing that to them, you are making it, You're making it physical, real. You're convincing yourself and your subconscious mind that you're actually forgiving that person. When I work with my clients on ancestral trauma healing, we work a lot on forgiveness, but way back, for forgiveness for generations, to break generational curses and to break so many generations of trauma and generations of anger, of being stuck in a particular challenging, horrible situation that happened to your ancestors. So I cannot even state how important it is to tap into forgiveness, to be able to cleanse yourself, your mind, your heart, your aura, and live free of PTSD symptoms. And I am a testimony of that. I have been through so much, and I have learned to heal myself from that. So I am not coming from a place of not knowing what I'm saying. I absolutely know exactly what I'm telling you. And we're always going to be challenged, and there's always going to happen that you find new triggers and new things that you need to heal, because healing is a process. But remember that we are healing in collective, that it's not just about you. And healing can happen from one night to the other, from one day to the other. You don't need to wait forever. You can just tap into Jesus' words and believe them. And then boom, you will be healed, just like the lepers, right? You will be healed, but you gotta believe, because that's our biggest difficult here, that we haven't really understood and known our Father and understood his word when he say that you can be healed instantly. So it's all about believing that is possible. And because we have such a hard time with it, is that I have come out with these little routines that you can do to convince your mind, to convince yourself that you're actually forgiving, that you're actually letting go of that. So if you need further help on this, please don't doubt on contacting me. There's my email and my website there. If you want to tap into your own messages, I also would love to help you on that, and would love to pray for you and for your family if you're going through a hard time and you need help. That is a free service I'm offering. And so count on me. I am your sister here in this travel, in this journey, as souls that are in a physical body right now. And remember that every healing that you're doing it not just for yourself, but also for your whole tree, your whole family, and for the biggest tree, which is humanity, right? So I congratulate you, and I bless your path, and I hope God bless you every day, just for trying to get better, just for trying to heal yourself or heal others. And I hope you know you're not alone here. We're a big, beautiful community. And please share, like, and subscribe to this video so more people listen to this message, and we can grow stronger in this purpose of collective healing for humanity. Thank you very much. And please let me down there in the comments if you want a particular subject to be treated, like say you want to talk about depression, or you want to talk about kingdom marriages, or whatever it is that you have more doubts. Please let me know in the comments down below. I love when you comment. It really makes my day, because that way I feel that reciprocity, and reciprocity is so important for everyone to live in that joy that it is to be a community. All right, friends. Bye. I love you. God bless you always.